And welcome back to another edition of Is This a Great Game or What? And we are multi-country today with my dad. This brings me back to the playoffs of last year. Hall of Famer Tim Quirkjian's in Canada. Hi, Dad. Good morning.
Yes, I'm in Kimberley, British Columbia. We're staying at a lodge. My nephew got married yesterday. So Spencer and Siobhan got married on the top of a mountain, Jeff. I'll explain that in a minute. And right now I'm in the lobby of the lodge. And I just set up all the equipment, and a security man came by, and he was kind, but he said, "Do you have a room here at the hotel?" And I said, "Yes, I have to come down to the lobby to do this so I don't wake my wife up upstairs." I think he understood that, but it was yeah, I'm going to sneak into a lodge just to do a podcast at 4:00 in the morning. I don't think so. So I made it. We're going to do this episode from a lodge in British Columbia. We are way far away from home. And Jeff, the wedding was great. But when I tell you it was at the top of a mountain, I am not exaggerating. We were way up there. Now, why don't you explain to everyone what my greatest phobia is?
Fear of heights, and it's not even close. So my first question is, how did you get to the top of the mountain?
Well, Jeff, my fear of heights is really bad. I made it clear I'm terrified. If I get on a ladder that's 10 feet high, I'm afraid. There's something wrong with me. I'm not even comfortable being this tall, Jeff. That's how much I hate heights. So there were two options. You go up on the ski lift, in which you're way above the ground in some flimsy little thing. Every single person at the wedding went, including the bride and groom. The bride, Siobhan, dressed in her wedding dress, went up on the ski lift, and 5 people, including the driver, went up in a car. But since it took almost 30 minutes, it was as rocky and as quick turns as you can imagine. And the 3 people who were in the back, and 2 of them were older than me, chose not to go back down in the car because the ride up was so rocky, and I don't want to say treacherous. I wasn't afraid at all. So I was the only person who went up and down at the wedding because I was too afraid to get on the ski lift.
Dad, a ski lift. It's been operating for years.
Jeff, I told you my phobia is acute. I am terrified of heights, and you've seen me on something resembling a ski lift, and I didn't do very well on it. I'm not proud of this, Jeff, and I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm just trying to explain. People have all sorts of phobias. Mine is heights.
I would be
I'm
careful,
afraid of
though,
heights.
Dad.
I'm afraid of widths. I mean, it's terrible.
You're almost 70. I wouldn't say that's a very cute phobia, okay? It's not a
No.
cute one at all.
Jeff, it's a bad thing. I got a bad problem here, and I wrestled with it, what to do, and I just decided I'm not going up. So one of the women who went up in the car, and the drive was so rocky and treacherous because if we had driven off the road, we would have all died. That's how high up we were, okay? So she told me she was terrified, and she's in her 20s. She told me she was terrified of heights. So she could not go down, but she would not go back down in the car. She wasn't going to do that again. So I saw her when she made it to the bottom, and I said, "So how did you do on the ski lift?" And she was so happy. She said, "I made it, and I only cried twice." Jeff, my point is, you're not supposed to cry on your way from the church or the wedding to the reception. She cried twice. I didn't cry once. But that's because I was the biggest chicken ever. The only person to go up and down at the wedding was your poor papa. Wow. And I mean it, poor papa.
Poor papa. Well, you made it. You're safe. I think it's commendable that you're even on the podcast today. I was going to offer to sneak in our guest a day early to allow you to get back from British Columbia back to DC, but nonetheless, you're on the show. Make sure everybody, if you're listening, go subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go follow on wherever you listen to podcasts so we can up those numbers. We're really trying to get some steam headed into playoff season and these pennant races, which are so exciting. So make sure to subscribe, like, comment wherever you're listening right now. Leave a review if you're listening as well on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That helps push our show out a bit. Dad, I'm proud of you.
Right. Thank you, Jeff. One last thing, as again, I'm wearing my Walter Johnson fleece pullover, and an older guy, probably as old as me, I was at the elevator the other day with my back to him, and he walks by me and goes, "That is a nice fleece pullover and that's a nice shirt you have on here." So now he walks in front of me. So I explained to him, as I do all the time, "Hey, I went to Walter Johnson High School. This is my Walter Johnson fleece pullover." And the blank stare on his face was unmistakable, Jeff. He had no idea who I was talking about. I said, "The greatest pitcher of all time." And he looked at me and he looked at the shirt. He didn't say a word and he kept walking. He's never heard of Walter Johnson. Am I supposed to be offended by that? Did I ever tell you I went to Walter Johnson High School?
Dad, I think for any baseball nerd like yourself and myself, I think it's understandable that we are as obsessed with Walter Johnson, especially given your fandom and your high school lineage. But I have to shout out John Gay, who's a friend of mine, and he runs his own podcast network. And when we first started, John Gay actually really helped me figure out how to get this thing launched. So big shout out to him. He does a lot of great work in the podcasting space, but he texted me and our other mutual friend, Matt Friedman, both Syracuse guys, and he took a picture of a graphic that was put on Fox, and it said 110 years ago today, Washington at Boston, Walter Johnson, 12 2/3 innings, Babe Ruth, 13 innings, 1 run, 0 runs, 7 hits, 8 hits, Red Sox won 1-0 in 13 innings. It was a graphic. And he sent this graphic, and all he said was, "Did I ever tell you, ... question mark." Meaning, did I ever tell you I went to Walter Johnson High School? Gosh. And then Matt Friedman responded, "Was that guy even real? I can't find any YouTube videos about him. Maybe there's an article on him at the pitch."
Yes, look.
They're both
Walter
members
Johnson
of the family, Dad, and really,
Jeff,
really great ones at that.
That box score that he sent you also reminds everyone how great Babe Ruth was as a pitcher. Mm-hmm. So, again, taking nothing away from Shohei Ohtani, but I'll say it again. If they had a designated hitter in the American League in 1920 and Babe Ruth had the same opportunities as Shohei, he would have hit 50 homers and won 20 games. It's that simple.
Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Matt Friedman was referencing Babe Ruth as "was that guy real?" because Pete Crow Armstrong, his crazy hot take was that Babe Ruth never existed.
Never existed. All right.
Unbelievable. Okay. But nonetheless, thank you to all the members of our family. Dad, I got a message the other day on social media that said, "How do we become a member of the family? What does that mean? Like, how can I officially make this happen?" And the one way you really can do that is by chatting with us at greatgameorwhat.com. Of course, you got to subscribe on YouTube, follow wherever you're listening right now. That's another great way to do it, and leave comments in every single video. Super important. And then even more so, if you are available, coming up on August 22nd, we've got a live event in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, in which we are hosting a charity event for our friend Michael Brown, who was diagnosed with ALS. We're going to be doing a baseball chat with Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian on the stage. There's going to be some raffle items, and we're going to be selling hats, too. Stand by. I've got one on right now. This is our exclusive Great Game or What hat that will only be sold live. First time we're ever selling merch in person. So you can purchase these in person. There might be an online option after if you're not able to make it to the event, but I'm going to leave all of the information for the event in the show notes. It's going to be the very first thing you see. It's August 22nd, 2 p.m. in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. That's this Saturday. So, Dad, when you get back from British Columbia, Kimberly, British Columbia, you're going to venture up to Pottstown, Pennsylvania for this event. You just don't stop, do you?
No, this is endless, Jeff. But it's great. It's great. We've had a great time here in Canada, and the weather's been spectacular. So all is well here. All is well.
SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, and anytime you want to go to a game, you should go to SeatGeek. I used to call the director of team travel. I used to call the traveling secretary, whatever they want to be called, KP, to try to get a seat. But on SeatGeek, I can pick my own seat, and I can pick where I want to sit instead of being told where to sit.
Yeah, it's a great option. And summer is coming to an end here soon. I'm going out and finding all the day games possible, all the warm weather cities, so I could stay in this tank top. I can watch very competitive baseball. As the calendar turns into fall, I want to make sure that I get the most out of this tank top and warm weather. And SeatGeek is where I would go and get my seats.
You can use code Territory10 for 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off MLB tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later.
Welcome back to Is This a Great Game or What? This is Jeff Kurkjian slipping in here. As you know from the top of the episode, my dad was at a wedding in Canada. So when we recorded, we had yet to get the unfortunate news, that Tommy John passed away at the age of 83. Back on August 10th, just about a week ago, my dad spoke about Tommy John on an episode about how he is worthy, his numbers are, of the Hall of Fame. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Tommy John and all baseball fans. Here's my dad from a week ago.
Tommy John, one of the most underrated pitchers for me in baseball history, and a guy who has really changed baseball because they named the Tommy John injury after him. He was the first one to have the surgery. It extended his career, and how many guys have had Tommy John surgery since him? But he was supposed to be, well, I don't know if he was supposed to go, but he did not go to the Yankees old timers game, and he left a note for everyone just saying, "I will never forget you." I don't know what that means, and I'm not even going to go there in case something bad is on the way. I'm not going there because I'm not going to believe that for anything. I just want everyone to know how good Tommy John was. He won 288 games. He started exactly 700 games in his career, Jeff. He had a career ERA of 3.34. He was one of the great control artists that we've ever seen. He didn't throw hard, but he really knew what he's doing. And he threw 46 shutouts, Jeff. 46 shutouts. His first shutout was on May 3rd, 1964. And the game lasted an hour and 34 minutes. Yes.
That's a commissioner's dream right there.
And that's without a pitch clock. But he threw strikes. And just like we talked last week, about 2 weeks ago, about the 3-pitch, 3-out inning, I'm sure Tommy John had a few of those. But best to Tommy John. He should be in the Hall of Fame. 288 wins.
Rest in peace to Tommy John. Now back to the rest of the show. All right, Dad, let's get into the takeaways, and I know you've got a big one leading the way. Some very exciting debuts.
Well, Joshua Baez, who's a 23-year-old outfielder for the Cardinals, played his first major league game. That was on Saturday, and he hit the first pitch for a home run. First pitch he's ever seen in the major leagues, and then became the first player ever to hit 3 home runs in his major league debut. And 30 members of the family were there. It was an amazing scene after the game when he hugged everyone in the stands, all that stuff. 3 homers, Jeff, in his major league debut. No one's ever done that. He drove in 5 runs. And I was astonished to learn that Starlin Castro of the Cubs knocked in 6 runs in his major league debut in 2010. So Joshua Baez didn't set that record. 9 different guys have hit 2 home runs in their major league debut. 2 of them 5 days apart this year, Jose Fernandez and Chase DeLauter. So they earlier this year, they each hit 2 home runs in their regular season major league debut. That's important. The previous record, Jeff, for the fewest games into a career before you hit 3 homers in a game was 10 by Orestes Aquino and Bobby Estalella. So they hit their it only took them 10 games into their major league career before they put together a 3-homer game. And Zebby Zavala, he hit his first 3 home runs came in one game, just like Joshua Baez, but it was Zavala's 18th major league game, not his first major league game. So it was just a crazy, and the last Cardinal to hit a home run in 3 consecutive at-bats, not the first 3 at-bats.
That's
of his
incredible
career.
too to think about. It's not even just his first game. He goes 3 for 5 with 3 homers, and he hit it in his first, third, and fifth at bat. He hit it in his first 3 major league at bats, which is so cool.
Right. It's so cool. And Albert Pujols 2006 is the last Cardinal to hit a home run in 3 consecutive at bats. But that was, 5 years into Albert's career. He was an established player. This was the guy's major league debut. So one more time, Jeff, name the at least 3 guys that I know who hit 500 homers in their career and never hit 3 in a game. And this kid did it in his first major league game. Who are the 3?
The most surprising one always is David Ortiz.
Okay. David Ortiz, you're right, hit 541 homers, never had a 3-homer game. Somebody had more homers than that without a 3-homer game.
Well, I thought Ortiz was the most. Was it Willie Mays?
No. Rafael Palmeiro had a 3-homer game. He had 569. And Gary Sheffield did 509 homers. So those 3 guys together, Jeff, 28,329 at-bats, 1,619 homers, and none of the 3 hit 3 in a game. Now, that's not being critical, Jeff. The point is, Hank Aaron had 1 3-homer game in his career. And it's because he wasn't trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. This is what we do today. We come to the ballpark saying, maybe I can hit a couple of homers today. Who knows? So congratulations.
I think that debut, Dad, arguably could be one of the best. And nothing brought me more joy than watching the family that you had mentioned previously in the stands, watching that. Greatest day of his life. Not just his career, of his life. Besides, hopefully, a wedding and birth of his children one day. I'm not sure where he's at in that stage, but seriously, that is so, so cool for him.
So cool, right. Okay, that's the main takeaway. I just have a few others. C.J. Abrams of the Nationals, who had a remarkable offensive season. He's over 90 RBIs. They've moved him from shortstop to second base. And remember when Jacob Wilson just set the major league record with his 111th consecutive game without an error, C.J. Abrams made 32 errors during the time that Jacob Wilson made no errors. So it was probably a time to move him to second. Nasim Nunez will take over at shortstop. But the lesson here, Jeff, is, he's a great athlete, C.J. Abrams. But moving from shortstop to second is not an easy thing to do. Remember when Sean Dunson of the Cubs had played like 1,100 games at shortstop. And then they moved him to second base. And he told me it was the hardest transition he's ever had to make because he couldn't see the runner coming at him on the double play. And back then you could kill the shortstop or the second baseman sliding in as hard as you want. It doesn't work that way anymore. And Sean Dunston told me playing second base, it felt like the field was tilted. Like that's how uncomfortable he felt on the other side of the field. And he went on to play like every position on the field except for pitcher and catcher. And he said, I'll play anywhere else. I'll play first, I'll play third, I'll play right field, but don't put me back at second base. That's how hard that transition is to make for some people. So we'll see if C.J. Abrams can do that. Agreed?
Agreed. I think the mindset behind it, people always think the infield, especially the middle infield, shortstop and second base, are interchangeable. They're not. They're really not. It's a totally different mindset of the game. And even though you see players like Cal Ripken Jr. seemingly make it seamless, and when he was asked to move over in his final All-Star game, he said, I'm not going to go play shortstop. I'm not doing that. Right. But in the same respect, Dad, being a third baseman, that ball comes fast. fast at you. I mean, you are so much closer and having to charge those bunts. As much as people say, of course, and I agree, shortstop is a more athletic position to play than third base. There's a lot of challenges at third and a lot of challenges at second that I think get understated when it comes to, in comparison to being a shortstop. It's different, maybe not as difficult, but difficult in its own right.
Right. Shortstops are generally the best athletes on the field. But just to say, all right, we're going to slide you over to third, not that easy. And maybe it's even harder to slide you over to second because it's on the other side of the infield. People think, what's a big deal? It is a big deal. C.J. Abrams has his hands full, but the Nationals obviously know what they're doing.
And it's funny, too, because when it comes to men's league softball, the best athlete on the field has to be the third baseman or else someone's going to get killed. It's unbelievable how fast. A friend of mine, Dad, plays on his church softball league, Jeff Tolson, and he took a bounce, Dad, off of the dirt, off of a rock, broke his nose. Bang. Right on his nose. I mean, it was unbelievable.
This tooth right here, Jeff, has been dead for 50 years after I got hit with a ground ball in a softball game playing shortstop. Bad hop hit me right in the mouth. This tooth is dead and has been for over 50 years.
Really? That? And it still grew to be that big, though. That's incredible. You and I both, that's one thing I got from you is these two big front teeth. You see them? Yep,
Pretty
you and I both.
Jeff. And I look a little bit like Jim Carrey when I smiled. Jim Carrey and whatever that was. The
Mask?
What was that movie? The Mask, yeah.
What other takeaways do you have, Dad?
All right, Jeff, we've talked many times on this podcast about how there are no leadoff hitters anymore. We got Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Schwarber's hit a leadoff a lot during his career. Well, Pete Alonso of the Orioles, who's a 250-pound first baseman who can't run, he hit leadoff the other day. Started the game in the leadoff spot for the first time in his career. Look, I'm not offended by this. I'm not surprised by this. I just thought if there's one guy that's not going to do this, it's Pete Alonso, and he hit leadoff the other day. Should we not be surprised anymore when somebody hits leadoff a certain day?
Dad, I think I don't want to sound old-fashioned, but it does. It bums me out a little bit. Listen, I don't just need the little guy leading off, but I mean, I don't know. I don't love it for the game, and I know Orioles fans out there, many of which are friends of mine, are already still heartbroken after the trade deadline, and then you do a move like this, and it almost feels like they're like, whatever, go ahead, go play, go have fun, kids. Like, we'll let the first baseman lead off. Go ahead. And maybe that's beautiful. Maybe that's annoying. I'm not sure, but I'm not in huge favor of just throwing anybody out there to lead off.
Right. But it is real, Jeff. This happens all the time. So Corbin Carroll of the Diamondbacks just hit his 100th homer. So I'm not going to say he's the fastest player because you know how that bothers me.
Right.
I'm going to say he played the fewest games to get to 100 homers and 50 triples. He played the third fewest games of anyone in history to get to 100 homers and 50 triples. The only two who got there in fewer games were Joe DiMaggio and Lou Gehrig. How about that list? How'd you like to be on that list?
Wow.
Pretty good.
That is a heck of a list.
Right. And this is pretty cool. Sal Stewart, who might win the Rookie of the Year, Reds first baseman, DH, third baseman, moves around, plays a lot. He just became the second, has the second most RBIs ever by a Red, Cincinnati Red, who's 22 years old or younger. The record, of course, is Johnny Bench, who drove in 148 runs in 1970 as a 22-year-old. Jeff, 22. Our boy Johnny Bench, who's been on the podcast a couple times, he knocked in 148 runs. So Sal Stewart's going to drive in 100. He's going to get a lot of votes for Rookie of the Year. And when you're in the same category as Johnny Bench, that's pretty cool, right?
Right. I mean, especially in that organization.
All I know is that Tito told me Sal Stewart is maybe the most advanced young hitter I've ever seen. Meaning, I did their playoff game last year in Dodger Stadium, and it was unbelievable how Tito told me this guy goes to the plate every single time thinking, I can hit this guy. I'm going to get a hit off this guy. And Jeff, when we're talking about baseball being this difficult, just having that attitude that I can hit this guy is part of the battle.
For the families out there looking for a new path to help your child succeed, take a look at K-12 Powered Schools. K-12 offers tuition-free accredited online public education for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. It's all in a setting that works for your family. And K-12 has been around. They've been a leader in online education for over 25 years, serving over 3 million families with flexible education options tailored to each child's needs, interests, and goals for the future. K-12's dedicated teachers are trained in virtual instruction, and they provide real-time support. Hey, we've heard Todd Father on here talk about how his kids have gone through homeschooling, and it's really helped them for a family that is very much on the move during his playing career. So you can see how K-12 Powered Schools can help unlock your child's full potential. Enroll online today at k12.com/FOUL. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/FOUL. k12.com/FOUL.
And speaking of Dodger Stadium, Max Muncy just hit home run number 131 at Dodger Stadium to pass Eric Karros as the most home runs by any player ever at Dodger Stadium. Max Muncy, pretty cool, right?
That is so neat. In such a legendary park, you would have thought there was more there, respectfully.
Right.
131 is the most, right? Isn't
Right.
that kind of surprising?
Yes, it is. But that's and Shohei Ohtani is going to, break all those records before he's done. But we'll
Right.
see how that goes. All right, so that's it for the takeaways, Jeff.
What do you have for the Quirkjians now, Dad, across Major League
Okay.
Baseball?
Jeff, you know how much we talk on this show about strikeouts. Strikeout rate is totally out of control. So we had a game the other day where the Tigers pitchers faced the Guardians and didn't strike out anybody. So we had a major league game in which a shutout was thrown by the Tigers against the Guardians, and Tigers pitchers had 0 strikeouts. So the last time a shutout was thrown in the major leagues without a strikeout by by the winning team was in 2014. The Tigers also did that, and it was against the A's. So it's been 12 years. It was the same team, just amazing. So I looked up all the other strikeouts that night. On the night when the Guardians had 0 strikeouts, the other teams who played that night averaged 8.7 strikeouts per game. So it just shows you how easy it is to strike out today. And it's just so odd when you look at the box score and there are 0 strikeouts in there. Amazing. All right. Speaking of 3-homer games, Alex Bregman had a 3-homer game, the first of his career, and he drove in 7 runs. So he and Dansby Swanson, teammates, had a 3-homer, 7 RBI game, both of them this season. So the last 2 teams to have 2 players with a 3-homer, 7 RBI game. I think they're the only 2 ever. The 95 Yankees with Paul O'Neill and Mike Stanley, and the 2025 Yankees, Aaron Judge and Jason Dominguez. Each of them had a 3-homer, 7 RBI game. So that's what the Cubs are doing with that lineup. And this is the shortstop and the third baseman running up those numbers for the Cubs. Now, Jeff, the Angels are playing better, but they're going to lose. They're going to be under 500 easily again this year. So this is going to be Mike Trout's 12th losing season. And I'm not real happy to report things like this, but Hall of Famers, and Mike Trout will be a Hall of Famer no matter what someday, a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's how great he has been. 12 losing seasons by a Hall of Famer for one team, okay? Luke Appling, Zach Wheat, Todd Helton, Ryan Sandberg, Ernie Banks. Those are the guys who had 12 Hall of Famers who had 12 losing seasons for one team. And Mike Trout soon will join that list. And of course, after he gets into the Hall of Fame. It's just, again, Jeff, we talk about this way too much, but it's just sad that we're not going to see Mike Trout in the postseason again this year. Agreed?
I know. And why can't they just trade him at this point? I mean, does he just want to wrap up his career as, a one-team kind of guy. It really is sad, Dad. I mean,
Well,
I'm sure he's happy, and he's a dad. He doesn't want to move his family. I get it, but, like, come on. Let's get one miracle year with Trout, get traded at the deadline, and just have so much excitement for any team.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm with you on that, Jeff. Okay, couple little things. The Reds, speaking of the Reds, had a line score the other day that looked just like a phone number, and I only bring this up because the area code was 301, which
That's right.
is Maryland, your area code growing up,
That's
my
right.
area code now. So love that. So in that Cubs Nationals game the other day, someone wrote in, Cade Cavalli started for the Nationals, and Aaron Savali came in after that. So we had a Cavalli Savali pitching. I don't think they were pitching against each other, but that was pretty cool that we had two names that similar, that weird. And last one, Jeff, we had Jacob Mizorowski against Justin Robleski. They started against each other in a Brewers-Dodgers game. Jacob Mizorowski against Justin Robleski. And one of our really funny, clever listeners, readers, wrote in that the game should have been held in Milwaukee and they should have had like a sausage race because we had two guys, Robleski and Mizorowski, pitching.
Dad, that's a really good one. I had one that I wrote down. Dylan Cease and Ryan
Right.
Weathers on Sunday's game. I hope the
Right.
weathers cease, if you're having
right.
bad weather. Is that a
Right.
stretch? That was the only one I had going into today.
Yeah, that's a stretch, but it's a good stretch. That's all good.
Oh, come on.
Oh.
You are the king of the stretch, even though you're 5'5". You have a better
Jeff,
stretch than Albert Pujols.
Jeff, I am Willie McCovey when it comes to
There you
stretches.
go.
That was his nickname, Stretch.
Stretch.
Oh, my God.
Well,
So good.
Dad, really fast, I want to take a quick minute to, just say for everybody listening right now, we're going to be coming up to a Team Tim here in a minute. And I want you to submit your own Team Tims, greatgameorwhat.com. That's a team consisting of one theme, right? So Team Tim is not next, but if you go to greatgameorwhat.com, by the end of this show, you never know, we might read your Team Tim on the show. So greatgameorwhat.com is a place you can submit everything for a Team Tim, for comments, and Dad, Tim Kurkjian, is the one who responds to all those messages. So get on it. All right, Dad, on this date in baseball history, what do you have?
Okay, 1973, Willie Mays hit the final home run of his career, number 660. And anytime we can bring up Willie Mays on this podcast is well worth it. He is still the greatest player that I've ever seen play, as five-tool as it gets. And on this date, he hit the final home run of his career. On this date, Jeff, in 1980, George Brett, I'll never forget this, went 4 for 4 and raised his average to 401. So this is August 17th, 1980. He's hitting 401. So that year, Jeff, I'm sure I've told you this story before, but that year, George Brett had an ankle injury and was on the disabled list, which is what it was called back then. So it was the day that they had the team golf tournament, and George, being the best player on the team and the captain of the team, is standing on the 18th green on crutches, holding a putter and welcoming everyone through, but he was too injured to even play golf. So one of the groups decides they're going to have a little fun with the group on the green, and they're going to hit into the green and maybe scatter some of the Royals and everything else. So here comes the ball from 150 yards away. George Brett sees it coming. He drops his crutches. He takes his putter, which has a blade, Jeff, about this, it's about 2 inches wide, right? He hits the ball out of midair and hits it back down the fairway 150 yards with a putter. And I looked at him, I said, George, come on, nobody can do that. And he looked at me and he goes, wow, it was 1980. And of course, that was the year he hit 390, nearly hit 400. And every ball that he hit hard, whether it was a golf ball or a baseball. That's how good George Brett was.
I mean, yeah, that was a heck of a year. And Dad, I can barely strike the putter on the ball when the ball's not moving, let alone hit it while it's in the air.
Right. Those blade putters are pretty
small.
narrow.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right, now this date in 1941, Boog Powell was born. Boog Powell is one of my all-time favorites. He won the 1970 MVP in the American League. Earl Weaver once told me that Boog weighed 300 pounds during his MVP season. 300. But so he was a huge man and really strong, but he had great feet and he had great hands. He was a very underrated defensive first baseman. But sadly, most people in Baltimore, some people out there think Boog Powell didn't even play. He just has a barbecue stand at, Camden Yards, and
Right.
the food is great. But I'll never forget, Jeff. He told a story that when he would play like a game in Milwaukee, he would routinely order brats during the game, and he more than once he went out on the field having eaten brats with the secret sauce, and some of it had leaked out onto his jersey. And he said, I felt like a stuck pig running out there because he had like red sauce all over his jersey.
Right.
And I know he told me this once, and Steve Russian wrote about this in one of his books. On those days they would play in Minneapolis, like say on a Saturday afternoon, Boog would go out to the parking lot where they were having, cookouts in the parking lot. They were tailgating in Minnesota, and he would sit down and eat with these people who he didn't even know. And he would have a bunch of beers with him. And a couple times they just said, you should just stay here for the night. So he slept in the parking lot in a mobile home after eating all afternoon and into the night. And then he would get up in the morning and he was already at the ballpark because he slept at the ballpark in a mobile home with guys who were camping and tailgating. That's who Boog Powell is, Jeff. You
That's
okay
beautiful.
with all that?
Yeah, that is so perfect. I just love the secret sauce on the jersey. I'll never get over that.
Yeah.
That's the image of that is incredible.
Right. Okay. 1983, Dustin Pedroia was born. So happy birthday to Dustin Pedroia, one of my favorite players, as tough a little guy as you'll ever see. And I once asked him, he's an inch and a half taller than me, Jeff. That's it. And I once asked him, how many times did people tell you were too small to play in the big leagues? And he said, more times than you can ever imagine. But that's what drove him to be better. And Jeff, I've told you this before, you know how big my hands are for a tiny little guy. My hands are twice as big as his hands, and yet his hands are 10 times as strong as my hands, because if you don't have strong hands in the big leagues, you will get overpowered. So happy birthday to Dustin Pedroia. And in 1998, River Ryan was born. So happy birthday to River Ryan, who, of course, was with the Dodgers, but in the Tarek Skubal trade got sent to the Tigers. So we needed a team Tim.
Oh,
Jeff,
I knew it was going that way. I heard the paper flip in the notebook. I knew it was going there.
Jeff, since I'm in the mountains in British Columbia right now, and we're surrounded by water, and we're going to the top of the mountain for a wedding, and poor Pop-Up's too afraid to get on the chairlift. I just did the All Bodies of Water team as a tribute to River Ryan on his birthday. Are we okay with that?
I think this is perfect, Dad. All Bodies of Water. But if you don't have Steve Lake as your catcher, I'm going to be upset.
All right. Well, very good, Jeff. You're way ahead of me. I think we've done this before, but Steve Lake is the catcher. And now I really had to fudge some things here, so please, nobody be offended. My first baseman is Michael Ford. My second baseman, because a ford is a body of water, Christian Arroyo is our second baseman, and Arroyo is a body of water. I'm not even sure what it is, because how would I know? But I looked it up. Our third baseman is Brooke Jacoby. Now, this is the blasphemous part, Jeff. How can I leave Brooks Robinson out of the All bodies of water team, but I needed a shortstop. I had trouble finding one. So Brooks Lee is our shortstop. And you know the rules for Team Tim. You can't use the same thing twice. So
Right.
with apologies to Brooks Robinson, that's our infield. Our outfield is Jason Bay, your boy Brandon Marsh, Simon Pond. Our DH is Dave Moats, Moates. And our pitchers are River Ryan, Doug Creek, Bobby C., Jim Poole, and Ernie Shore. So
Well
that's the
done,
all
Dad.
bodies of water team, and it's very outdoorsy, and that's what I've been doing all week. Very outdoorsy stuff. You okay with all this?
I'm proud of you. Driving a car up a mountain and doing an all bodies of water team, Dad. You're doing just fine in a lodge, which is not a place I would often find Tim Kurkjian. Lodge and Tim Kurkjian don't go together. Those, the stuffed animal heads on the wall, not a decor piece of your choice. Have you ever been hunting, Dad? Have you ever done something like that?
Of course not. I've never done that. I will never do that. And years ago, Mom bought, this is really weird. Mom bought like a moose head.
Right.
And I don't even know if it was a real moose head, but it wasn't attached to anything. And I had trouble like looking at it. It was in the car. It was like there was a dead moose in the car. So no, I'm not going hunting, and I'm going to offend every fisherman out here. But Stephen Wright, the great comedian, once said, there's a fine line between surf fishing and being a complete idiot. And I am a complete idiot, not surf fisherman. I am. So I am just not very outdoorsy, Jeff, as we know. I've shot one gun in my life. That did not go well. But fortunately, it was at a target and not at a person. So yeah, so that's all good. All right, so that's Team Tim, Jeff. So what will we have to finish the show? What do we have to finish with?
The wheel of Kurkjian. Here we go. We're going to roll it. Okay, so I got to let everybody know. My daughter was messing with the wheel of Kurkjian, so it's broken a little bit. I got to get it fixed. So the first one is backup catchers, Dad. What do you have for backup catchers?
Well, Jeff, you know backup catchers are like my favorite people in the world. You know,
Right.
Corky Miller and Matt Trainer and all these guys who did Paul Bacco. Paul Bacco was a backup catcher for years. Paul Bacco came up to me once, and I'd met him 100 times, but the 101st time he came up to me and just shook my hand, and he went like this, Paul Bacco. Catch and throw guy. That's how he introduced himself. I'm a catch and throw guy, because that's how he was always introduced. Like, yeah, he's our backup catcher. He's a catch and throw guy. So yeah, it's a real interesting fraternity. And Caleb Joseph, who was on our podcast last year, he was talking about backup catchers, and he said, but I bet none of those backup catchers went 132 at bats one year without an RBI, which is what Caleb Joseph did. So you have to keep a good sense of humor, if you're a catcher, but especially if you're a backup catcher. So I have a million backup catcher stories. Spin the wheel again. We'll move on.
All right, here we go. Next wheel spin is umpires, Dad. We got umpires today.
Okay, again, Jeff, I'm just going to make a point that umpires are way better at their job than people think they are, and they don't get nearly enough credit for how good they are at what they do. You know, we had that game, between the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, and the only people who knew the rules were the umpires, and that's usually how it works. And Jeff, just a reminder, as the umpires will tell you, the base is not an island of safety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you get hit with a batted ball that, of course, has not touched another glove, meaning if you're standing on second base and there's a hard ground ball hit up the middle and it's going into center field and it hits you while you're standing on second base, you are out. It is not an island of safety. Not everybody knows that. Now, Jeff, you used to be an umpire. What's the thinking behind that rule? What's the thinking behind that exact rule that I was telling you?
The island
What
of
if it's
safety.
a double play ball? Yeah, what if
Right.
it's a double play ball and there's the shortstop is standing right behind you? Well, of course you would stand on the base, allow the ball to hit you, and everyone would be safe. No, that's not how it works. You are hit by a batted ball, batter gets a single, but you are out. But you tried to break up a double play by allowing the ball to hit you. The
Well,
base
I
is
also
not.
I also thought about it a lot, Dad, as let's just say there are 2 outs, right? And a screamer comes down the first base line, runner on first and third. This happened to me in a game, Little League. Runner on first and third, screamer hits the base runner on first base. First and third, right?
Right.
That's a scored run if that's not an automatic out, right? Because that ball's going to hit the runner on first, ricochet all over the place. Guy from third's going to run home. That's a run scored. There should be no advantage to being able to get hit by. And that's why you see so many athletic players do one of these.
Right.
And I think especially, Dad, with the Little League World Series coming up, which is so exciting to watch. And right now we're in like kind of the lead up to it, all of the championship games. These rules are just as important in Major League Baseball as they are in Little Leagues and vice versa. And the funniest part is there are 12-year-olds who might know the game better than Major League Baseball players. And that's not a fault of Major League players. All I'm saying is those rules apply all over the place. And sometimes even major leaguers make mistakes when not knowing the rules.
Sure. Okay, spin the last one. Third one for the day.
Last one is, what is that?
Bottle races?
Oh, bottle races. Yeah. Can't even read my own hand.
Well, Jeff, you brought up when I ran as a hot dog in at Milwaukee in years ago at Miller Park when it was Miller Park. I'm not going over that again. I get such a kick out of this still that Tito Francona, when he managed the Red Sox at Fenway Park, he made a point. He said, this is an old ballpark and we do things differently here. He said, we don't have a bottle race every night here between, ketchup, mustard, and relish. And then he said, and nothing against ketchup. He felt like he needed to add nothing against ketchup. So
big fan of your work.
Right. Sean Fitzgerald, one of our producers at ESPN, just once a year will just look at me and go, Tim, nothing against ketchup. But that was typical Tito Francona to make sure he didn't offend anybody, including a bottle of ketchup that wasn't allowed to run in a race at Fenway Park. So that's it for the Wheel of Kurkjian.
Dad, tomorrow on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe right now. You follow wherever you're listening so that you don't miss Jason Stark on the show, which is going to be awesome.
Right. We had a lot of laughs, and Jason Stark is one of the best baseball writers of all time and finds quirky, weird things better than anybody. Can't wait for you to hear Jason tomorrow. And Jeff, I'm going to go back and make sure nothing's gone wrong here at the lodge in British Columbia and make sure that security guys didn't think I just snuck into the lodge in order to do a podcast. Jeez.
Thank you so much for watching and listening. And as always, thanks for being a part of our family.